Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Black Eel Podcast. Here are your hosts, Scott. I know it's super bright where I am right now, and Mike. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about. Well, I don't know what to say about you. We're going to be talking in this episode the teaser trailer for Captain America 4. We're going to be talking about the latest episode of My Adventures with Superman, The Acolyte, and The Boys. And then we're going to be ending with a character spotlight from me, which may or may not have to do with the trailer of the Captain America 4, which, spoiler alert, it does. So, we are going to get right
Such a
into.
man of mystery.
Yeah, but you don't know who, which is what makes it fun because I'm assuming you automatically are expecting one person, and I doubt you know who it is. So I'm going to get right into it and talk about none other than the Captain America 4 teaser trailer. So in this, there are major things that we notice here. Obviously, Harrison Ford exists as General Ross,
Yep,
which
and
I will say
they did a good
they do
job
make a joke
explaining.
about it.
So yeah,
Well, they do make a joke about it, which is what's perfect. You look different. Yeah, I shaved the mustache.
yep. Marvel does honestly a good job at pointing out the uh, act,
Obvious without
actor
obvious.
change without like a lot of companies will try to just like play it off and actor got changed, swapped out, whatever, pretend not to notice. Marvel embraces it and is like, we know you're gonna notice. We're gonna make a joke out of it. So at least,
They did the same thing in Iron Man 2 with the new War Machine as well.
yep. I mean, they did it.
Um,
They did it in She-Hulk with the Hulk.
yes. Yes, they did.
hmm
Yes, they
those are the
did.
two that really pop up. But I'm sure.
Well, I think those were the only major two. And then obviously the reason why Harrison Ford is playing him has to do with the fact that obviously the original actor died. So it's not like they're just replacing him to replace him. It's just the fact that he unfortunately has passed. And apparently Harrison Ford isn't going to die anytime soon.
And
Because he's
willing
already
to
done.
embrace the Marvel fan base instead of the Star Wars fan base. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of surprised by that. But anyway, so they made a joke about it. We also kind of got a quick glimpse of his new suit, um, which is pretty much similar to what it was, but it's just slightly different enough
mm,
to make it different. Which isn't all that surprising because that pretty much happens with all the characters.
yeah, I know a lot of people were pretty upset at first because of the fact that he got such a big suit upgrade at the end of the show. So the fact that they were already doing a costume change going into his first standalone movie, but I think that was before people realized that it was basically the same thing, just like a
Yeah,
slight change.
it's honestly it's I think it's minor, and to be fair, most people, including Tony Stark, would always upgrade their own stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like it wouldn't be all that surprising that he would do that. We also know that Falcon is back. There's a new Falcon,
hmm
which we kind of already knew anyway. Let's be honest. It was heavily hinted anyway. We also got a major glimpse at Red Hulk,
Yep. At the end of the
which,
very end of the trailer.
which I was very, very, very surprised about.
I think Marvel at this point, they feel like the fans are gonna get backlash anyways because of the situation of the movie in general. So they're just figuring we're gonna go balls to the walls to try to get people interested from the beginning. Um,
Fair.
the only problem is because the internet is the internet, they have to nitpick everything. So like I see people commenting saying that the CGI already looks horrendous, and I mean I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really notice it, but obviously this is the
I
first
don't,
teaser trailer, so it's going to hopefully improve by the time the movie comes out in February.
well, yeah, but the other thing too that gets me is it's not like it. The color scheme wasn't horrible. It was red. I
hmm
mean, I hate saying it, but it was red. So it's like it's exactly what it's supposed to be, right? and it's not like he moved around all that much, so it's not like you could really tell that the CGI was bad.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm not an expert in it, nor do I claim to be,
Hmm.
right? So my big thing is the fact of just it was a teaser trailer. I just was more surprised that they showed Red Hulk
I agree.
because I thought that was going to be like the big reveal.
Hmm.
And I also think, and I could be wrong, because I really had a hard time listening to everything because there were so many voices being heard. I think we hear the actor who plays the leader in the teaser trailer. We know he's playing the leader anyway, so it's not. We shouldn't be surprised at all. I think we actually heard him in the teaser trailer at one point.
Hmm. No.
I think it was when they were in like what looked like like not a lab, but like you know what I'm talking about. Like they had their guns out, looking around and everything
Yeah.
else. They are also introducing a character who has major controversy to it, and they're changing the character to make it so it's less controversial.
Is who is it?
So you know, so the woman with the gun, she was in the trailer several times.
Okay.
So her character in the comics was Sabra, which I believe is going to be her name in the show anyway. However, she she was part of the Israel Secret Service, and she was also a mutant. And apparently, there was a lot of controversy with her character when she was in the comics. Um, Spoiler alert, that's the character spotlight. So, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because there was a lot of rumors that this character was going to be introduced, and in fact, this was also the character that was basically stated in every single article ever. One of the top 10 Marvel characters that will never have a live action adaptation
Oh.
because of the controversy behind it, which makes me laugh even more because we're getting it.
So I'm
Um,
sure that this gives you a lot of hope for what's his face from X Men, the internet guy. What's his name? The TV show guy.
oh, um, you mean Arcade?
Yeah. Whatever.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I because when you said X Men, it threw me off.
Well,
Because he's
he was the most recent thing that I saw him in.
oh no, then we're not talking about the same thing then.
The
Oh, Mojo,
Mojo.
Mojo. Sorry,
Okay.
my apologies. I'm thinking of Arcade. That's a different, also very disturbed character. But anyway, so you know, it sounds like they're changing the character, and instead of her being a part of the, um, although she is still um, part of the, she's from Israel. However, the difference here is she was a former Black Widow in the MCU. So in the MCU, this character is a former Black Widow,
Oh, okay.
which gives her her skill set and everything else. Um, but yeah, so we'll talk more about that character at the end. But I thought that was interesting because honestly, you know, thread of my life, I would have lost that bet because I would have been dead set they weren't going to have that character in. Just because there's so many characters to be added in,
Hmm.
why go for somebody who's got a lot of controversy? But you know what? Hey, if it works out, it
Controversy
works out.
creates cash.
I mean, also that's very true, and also they're changing it enough that it sounds like she's going to be mostly a former Black Widow,
Hmm.
which I don't have a problem with. I mean, again, we'll know more later. But yeah, I'm actually very much looking forward to it. It's a teaser trailer. I have some concerns, mostly due to the fact that this Sam Wilson's Captain America is not a metahuman in any sort of capacity. So when seeing the leader and Red Hulk, I have some concerns.
Hmm. Well, I know that that has been talked about by a lot of people, so I mean, I'm sure they're gonna make it work. They pointed out
Oh yeah,
itself in the trailer that he's not a meta and has no powers. So they're obviously very, he's made it work before because he already wasn't a superhuman, and he made it work to be a hero. So he's gonna play to his
But at the
strengths.
same but at the same time, he normally wasn't the leader or the head. The how do I want to phrase this? He wasn't the main star normally. You know what I'm saying? So like him, you. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that it changes the dynamic now that he's the lead. Captain America was a meta-human in the sense of like he was had super strength and everything else, but he comparatively to the rest of the Avengers, he wasn't the strongest. Granted, he was stronger than Hawkeye, obviously, but my point I'm making is the people that Captain America fought weren't to the level of like Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Like
I mean, I understand what you're. I do understand what you're getting at, but my point is that he's going to use his other skills to make up for the fact that he's not a
fair,
metahuman. I mean,
fair, and
just like Tony Stark, he's not a metahuman, but he used his technology to make do. So they're going to have to figure out a way to make this work.
no, you know what? That's very much fair. I'm just stating like that's my only concern I have because I don't actually have as much of a concern with the. I'll say this: the initial reaction of Harrison Ford replacing what's his
I know
name
you
to be.
weren't happy about it.
I wasn't happy with it, but we're getting the Red Hulk, and to me, that's like the same switch we get from Edward Norton's Hulk to Avengers Hulk. So this is General Ross is General Ross, and then this is Red Hulk.
Yeah.
I know it's the same character, but you understand the point I'm making.
Mhm.
It's different enough that I feel okay about it now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just interested to see how this story is going to play out because it seems like this story is very going to be very like I wouldn't say spy thriller, but like very like conspiracy oriented. So it's definitely it
Yeah.
seems like a pretty new take in the MCU for the most part.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how that's gonna work. Like I said, I'm just very curious on that. Again, I mean, I'm gonna watch it no matter what. I mean, they have my money already, so they don't really care. My opinion at all because it's not like I'm not on the fence of watching it. I'm watching it no matter what. So,
Yep.
like I said, I have my concerns. However, it still looks pretty good. I mean, it looks okay. I was more surprised we got a teaser trailer so early, but then again, I also forgot that it was coming out in February.
I didn't realize it was coming out in February, so when I saw it releasing in February,
I
I
just knew it
assumed
was next
February.
year.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just remembered it being next year. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for that. Like I said, I mean, it's we get to see we saw obviously General Ross, we saw Red Hulk, we saw Captain America, we see the guy who's going to be Falcon, but not as Falcon.
Mm,
I want to make that very clear, just because we do see Falcon later flying with Captain America. However, we obviously don't see their face, so we're not 100% sure that's who it is. However, we're like 99% sure we're right.
mm.
Also, it looked like Ezekiel went shooting.
Yeah. He part. It seems like going into business for himself. I guess is the way to put it. But
Yeah, after being pardoned, I'm kind of surprised.
yeah.
But I guess there's more that we need to know. Um, but yeah, I'm very intrigued by that piece on like where because at first I was like, oh, it's just some guy shooting him, and then it's like all of a sudden I hear Ezekiel no, and I'm like,
Yep.
is that
Yep.
is that what? Because it's not like we could really see who it was
Yeah, we saw the
in the
background
trailer.
when we heard when he said Ezekiel no, they panned the camera to him, and I was like, oh, that actually does look like him, but we
But
didn't
it
get a
wasn't
good.
it wasn't a good enough it wasn't a good enough shot for me to be like it was him.
Hmm.
But like so, there's a lot of things that we need to figure out. I'm also wondering how far in time is this from
The show.
Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yep.
Because that's a factor in itself too.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I'm gonna watch it no matter what. I have my concerns, but I also had my concerns of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I liked it. It wasn't the greatest, was not the worst by any means.
No.
It was average.
Yeah. It was. The problem
It
was.
did what it was supposed to do.
So here's the thing about Captain Winter Soldier, which we've talked about in the past. If the show came out when it was supposed to and come out immediately after Endgame, it would have been fine because it was continuation of what we were used to. But because they came out with WandaVision and they changed the game with WandaVision, and then we went back to the regular MCU, we were like, oh, this is so boring.
Yeah, no, and like we said, that was supposed to come out first, but because of COVID, they had to change all of the stuff, and the only thing that was ready was WandaVision because of the way it was filmed.
Yep.
Because it was literally a studio, it was a lot easier to film that than it was to film Falcon and Winter Soldier, which, to be fair, 100% understand, and I'm not arguing that whatsoever. What I'm getting at is because of that, they had to pivot, and it was to the detriment of the show.
Yep.
But I do agree with you. It would have been in better. It would have had a better. Um, how do I want to phrase this? Um, the word is slipping my mind. It would have had a better.
Reception.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. A better reception if it came out when it was supposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. So either way, I'm going to watch it anyway. But yeah, let's move on right to. Do you want to talk about the Accolade first, or My Adventures with Superman? I feel like the Accolade.
Acolyte.
Acolyte. Accolade. You know what? Accolade.
Acolyte.
I've
Oh yeah.
decided. Yep. I'm actually calling Lucasfilms to change it because I have their number on speed dial.
I'm sure
So
you do.
I, I'm not on speed dial, but I wouldn't be surprised if I have the number just to spite you. Um, but anyway, so in this episode, all right, I want your thoughts on this episode. How did you feel about it?
I liked it. I thought I we finally got to know what happened in the past to impact what's been going on in the show. The reasoning was, from our perspective, very iffy because it's like, it was all a very big misunderstanding. We have a kid who was very homesick, thinking his work was meaningless, and he just wanted to go home. And we have Soul, who forms an immediate attachment, which we have been talking about how attachment can be good and it can also be bad. In his case, it was very bad. And we
Well,
have
it depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask.
uh and no, there's no dependent.
I don't know. Cormier would say otherwise.
Quamir,
Yeah,
the Sith Lord.
yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
worked out for him.
Oh yeah.
So
So I like I said, I liked it. It 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 answered a lot of questions, but yet it also created a lot more questions as well. Which
I agree.
we have one more episode in the season. There's rumors that, like we've talked about in the past, this is season 1 of season 2. Depending on how the show is received, honestly, might not get a season 2. We may get a season 2. We have to see. Um, I like I said, I liked it. A lot of shock factors. I loved the fact that we finally saw the Kalneka fight, even if it wasn't out of his own free will.
We
Um,
also got to see the witches fight,
we saw,
which
yep,
I I needed.
yep. Um, we learned in this episode why Kalneka went into exile. I don't know if you picked up on that. So so in the Wookiee culture, it is frowned upon to use their claws in combat. It is only for
Oh,
it's only meant for like harvesting resources or like non-violence. So if you use your claws, it is a term called I saw it online. It's called uh, Mad Claw, I believe. And
right to the point.
yes, very simple, straight to the point. So
But
if
I imagine
if
it's different in their language.
oh, I mean obviously, but are if you use your claws for violence, you immediately go into exile because you put shame onto yourself because Wookiees are supposed to be they're powerful and they're tough and strong and I'm just we're saying the same word in different ways. Uh,
You are, but I'm enjoying it.
but they have a reputation for being peaceful. So to use their weapons for violence is very frowned
It's
upon.
frowned upon. So no, I did not know that. Although I did obviously know that the scars on Torben's face was from his claws.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you know what? There was a lot of things were answered in this. Torben's mind was penetrated well before the black eyes happened, like when he fell to his knees,
Hmm.
which was interesting.
Yep.
Honestly,
Shows her mother Anastasia,
I say her name wrong. Asaya, you're on the right path.
but it shows
Um,
how powerful she really is to be able to do have
but
to have a conversation while corrupting him and even corrupting Kalneka.
no, she didn't.
Oh no, you're right. It was the other ones. It was the whole group of
No, it was all
it
of
was the
them that
whole
had
group.
to do
Yeah.
it for. So all right, Indara out of the so I'll say this. I wasn't expecting to have a lot more respect for Indara out of this whole thing and lose all my respect for Soul.
It was, I mean, it was the attachment thing for Soul, and she said it. It was like your attachment to these girls
So,
are going to be your undoing.
but here's my thing that bothered me. So when we see the show, right, when we first get into this, the way Osha was talking, I thought she was already speaking with Soul.
What do you mean?
Like they had an interaction already before before them coming in. So remember the scene where she's at the tree. Remember that scene, and she's kind of talking to her sister. I'm talking about the third episode, Mike. Focus with
Yeah,
me here.
when the Jedi show up.
Before, well, the Jedi don't exist yet, right? Meaning like we hadn't seen them yet in this area. So all of a sudden I thought that Osha, when she was going out all the time, she bumped into Soul before.
Oh, I never believed that. I never thought that, to be honest. So
Well, because I said there's no way he would have built. She would have understood everything, and he would have felt this connection with just one interaction. And then it literally was one interaction, and not even an interaction. It was sight alone, seeing them use the Force, and being like, "That's my Padawan.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's my Padawan. That's my Padawan."
Um,
And then, legitimately, like all joking aside, that legitimately was what happened. We had Soul who wanted a Padawan so bad, and then we had Torben who wanted to go home so bad, and Kelnaka, who was just there.
yeah.
No offense to him, he was phenomenal. His fighting was incredible. However, he literally was just there.
I
And then
think
Indara was the leader.
out of the four Jedi, Kalneka held the least responsibility of the tragedy that happened in that entire situation. Like,
So, all right. Uh, mm, mm,
mm,
I, all right. I have a little bit of a disagreement on that. I believe Indara does.
see, the only reason I disagree with that is because of the fact that she was the leader. She could not control her people. Thus, blame falls on her. Kalneka literally got mind controlled and assaulted his friends and went into exile.
Okay, you know what? All right, you're all right. Because you phrased it that way, I thought you were going to say it had to do with the fact that she killed all the witches.
That
But I'm glad.
I'm not blaming her for that because
Oh no, either am I. Either am I, because that was not her fault. I mean, she did it. Yes, I'm not going to argue that piece. But I mean, like, I agree. Okay,
I
so
do not believe that when she was trying to free Kalneka, she was purposely
she
trying to
went.
kill the witches. I do not believe that.
She didn't, but she knew she did it after the fact.
Yes. And of course,
Yeah.
like the blame falls on her also because at the end of the episode, she didn't want to tell the council. She wanted to keep it a secret to protect their image. So, also on her being the leader, dodging kind of dodging the responsibility of what happened and changing the scenario.
Okay. So we have very different takes on that. I
She has it in good intentions with the fact that she wants to protect OSHA, But again,
I I also take it as a learning experience for Soul too, because in her mind he wanted this so bad, then you got it. You don't get the easy way out of telling the council, and then you getting stripped, and this kid getting sent who knows where.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's also not part of it, but I mean, it's everything coming
It would
together.
have changed it. You were absolutely right. It would have changed the events, and a lot of, well, realistically, the four of them would not be dead. Well, three of them. Sorry,
Yeah, well, soon to be four.
correct. Where I'm assuming that he's going to be dead, and you know what? At first, I thought I was going to feel bad that he was going to die. I don't know. Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I do believe
He clearly
he's
has
got a
a
problem.
sketchy past.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know he was young and everything, but I don't know. I feel like he's not learned enough.
Hmm. And
I
saw a
expect.
lot of people online, like, kind of, not kind of, uh, being completely unsympathetic towards Torben, and basically being like, oh, all it was such a stupid reason for him to want to kill himself, and I'm
I
I'm not
disagree.
okay with it because of the fact that how depressed he was. Like, people don't understand how much that really affects people and how that really
Well,
screws them up mentally.
well, it's not even just that. It's the fact that he became a master, right? So this is a key factor that needs to be thought of as well. And here's the thing, Mike. I'm agreeing with you, meaning like they're in the wrong for this. I think my bigger issue was I'm curious to how he became a master. One,
Oh,
two, the fact that he became a master was more of a reason why he would have killed himself
yeah. I mean,
because he realized he was not true to the Jedi way. That's why he went into meditation for years and put himself in that meditation cocoon.
yeah.
And so, like, my bigger thing was, and I saw a bunch of people make a comment about it. Oh, so he he's homesick, gets a bunch of females killed, and he becomes a master in like a couple of years. And what kills me is I'm like, there was 16 years between that moment and now. You know, he ever since he was stationed in that location, he was in the meditation stasis, which had been for years.
Yep.
However, they never said exactly how many years.
No, they never stated how long it's been, so we don't know what could have happened.
No, and I agree with you. So my whole thing was like, he was a kid, one. Two, he aged very quickly in 16 years, I'll say that. Um,
Hey, Star Wars has a tradition for people aging in a matter of years, so
no, what I was also going to say, too, was the fact that I would also imagine that has to do with the stress. So it wasn't just, age that caught up with him. It was everything else. Kelnaka, I felt bad for that he got killed. Um,
hmm.
just because, especially after that, I do agree with you. He didn't need to die.
No, I mean, he out of everybody, he was the most innocent.
I agree. And then, of course, the one we have left is Soul. But yeah, so I did like it. I also like to see the witch's powers. I also thought it was cool how so Mother no, you know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Anase? No. Anais? No.
No.
Anase.
Um.
I could see the spelling and I already know I'm not going to say it right.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, all of a sudden you're silent, huh?
What did I say? I wasn't criticizing you for once.
Oh, I thought you were reading it being like, I can't read this.
No, I'm struggling to say it, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
criticize you this time.
But I liked her power. She was definitely the more powerful one of the group, for sure. Um, I was also in
Anastasia,
Anasea, Mother Anasea.
I'm assuming so.
Okay.
The way it's spelled, I think
Wait,
it's Anastasia.
I know it. I don't think it's spoken the way it's spelled. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not good with names anyway. We know that.
Yep.
So, but anyway, so she was very powerful. Then when she gets stabbed and she tells Soul Taker, I was like, oh my gosh.
That was
I was
powerful.
like, that just hurt. That that hurt me more than her getting stabbed and killed. Honestly,
So I want to know what you thought of Soul's reaction to her turning into dust and seeing Mai disappear.
wait, say that part again?
So when Mai shows up and yells "Mom," and Mother Anastasia starts using her witch magic and she starts going into whatever smoke, whatever she was doing, teleporting.
Yeah.
They cut to Mai, and Mai starts to disappear as well. And then Soul reacts by stabbing Mother.
Yes.
What was your reaction to that? Are you like understanding of Soul's reaction? Or are you saying he acted hastily? Like,
So I don't think it was. I personally don't think it had to do with him thinking. I don't think he did it thinking it was she was hurting the kids in any way or taking the kids.
okay,
I think he reacted in a way which I agree with. Out of all the things he did, granted he did a lot of stupid things. That was the only thing I felt was reactive,
hmm,
in the sense of he thought he was being attacked
yeah,
because he saw what had happened to Torben. Because this is before
hmm,
Kalnaka, sorry. Um, and he reacted and took her down because in his mind it was, and I know it sounds weird to say, they don't normally attack people who are unarmed. In a way, she was not unarmed.
she was using magics.
Correct. Well, the force, basically. And so, like, in my mind, he was defending himself. Granted, he shouldn't have been in the situation to begin with, all that stuff. However, I don't think that had anything to do with his decision of stabbing her.
What didn't have
Like the
anything to
daughter
do?
disappearing.
Oh, okay,
No. Her disappearing, yes.
yeah.
Daughter disappearing, no.
Okay, no, I like that. I like
In,
that response.
in fact, I don't even think he actually, because of everything going on and his emotions clouding his judgment, I guarantee he probably didn't even notice it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can agree
Because
with
you got
that.
to take into consideration this is 16 years earlier. He's not as connected to the Force as he is now, and the fact that he was his judgment was completely clouded more than it has ever been, and I think ever will be. And people are going to argue with me a million times, but I think, as weird as it sounds, his judgment is not clouded at this time in the present. It is more clouded than Jedi should be, I will agree, but not as much as that moment.
In that moment, he had a lot going on. He was concerned about OSHA. He didn't know what was going on, so his mind was a little bit all over the place.
I also like that he let Mai die.
That was my next thing, but I
No, that was the big reveal for me more than anything
yep,
else. Because when we first saw that scene, I thought he was struggling.
yep. Oh,
Because
he
in
was.
my mind, I was like, he's younger, he's not as in tune with the Force, everything I've already said, and he couldn't hold up both of them. And because he knew Mai caused the damage, he had to make a choice.
Yep,
He made that choice before they even fell.
yep. Oh yeah. He sacrificed mine to try to save OSHA because he felt he had a connection because of his attachment to OSHA.
Yes. So another thing that I want to discuss. Well, there was one thing that was not answered, and I don't think will be answered until next episode. And I'm thinking the very beginning of the next episode is how Mai survived.
Yes. Yep.
That was one answer I really needed, and I was hoping it was going to be like an after credit scene or like the end of the
The end of
episode
the episode. Yep.
scene. Excuse me. And we didn't get that. However, it doesn't really ruin anything because there's still an answer we don't have about how the girls were created. Because it sounds more now that somebody was split into two, which really makes me think that Mother basically made a clone of herself in a weird way without, like, I know it's going to sound weird to say she made a clone of herself without making a clone of herself.
Well, if you heard that they were looking for the oh my god,
Incursion.
incursion. which also
I get that, but I
so
can't get other
by the
things.
way, in this episode there were so many Easter eggs to other Star Wars content.
Which is why I'm hearing. This is why I'm waiting for you to tell me because I have no concept.
So the first major thing was the
Incursion.
the incursion, but like that is the big eruption in the Force, like this big. So obviously Osha, not Osha, Soul and Endara believe it is the creation of these girls, which so far we are not sure. Uh, According to the creator of the show, that their creation is not the incursion. So
What's an incursion?
it's just like a big spike in the Force. So like Anakin's birth, that was an incursion in the Force because it was just this big. Uh,
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
It was just so much. It was so much force put into one thing, and that sounds entirely inappropriate the way I phrased that. But but my point I'm making is, all right. So it's basically like a huge impulse of force energy that doesn't make sense.
yep.
Would that
Um,
be accurate? And so the assumption, obviously, in this episode, the assumption was the twins were the incursion.
yep.
And to be fair, in this show, that is still the thought.
Yep. The other thing that was a big Easter egg, obviously, was talking about their spike in midichlorians, which is hinting at how Anakin they discovered Anakin with his high midichlorian count. The other big one was when Indara was talking to the group about how the planet was uninhabited and had no life on it, how it was caused by a slip space disaster. That is a hint to the High Republic books. The first one that started off with the great slip space disaster, which was um, a hyperspace cruise ship uh, ended up crashing and exploding in hyperspace, which sent debris all over the galaxy. So while in slip space, the ship uh, collided with an object, shattered, and debris was just jumping out into random locations and crashing into planets and destroying the
At
planet
hyperspeed.
at hyperspeed. So
Okay.
that was basically the premise of the entire hyperspace, the High
So,
Republic books.
so question: is the High Republic books canon?
Yes,
Have they always been canon?
yes.
Okay.
Uh,
So they've never not been canon.
yeah, no. This is canon. These are stuff that's
Okay. No, no, I'm only asking because I know there was a couple of books that weren't canon, or they were canon and then they weren't canon. You know what I'm talking about?
it's under the impression like anything that's under in Legends continuity, which is stuff that was created outside of Lucasfilm, or Lucas Arts, whatever it is.
I know what you're talking
Um,
about, though.
Anything created out of there is considered Legends. So it is in the fan base, it's considered canon until it's not. So
Okay, so basically, what it comes down to is it legitimately. Okay, I
like
gotcha.
for example, the original Thrawn books before the Thrawn trilogy, the two Thrawn trilogies came out, and until Disney rewrote Thrawn and created literally made him canon. Those in the fan base was considered canon because that's all we had, and it was then we'd build on it. And like I was talking to you before about how I was reading the Legends books about Darth Bane and Revan and all like those characters. Until we get them in canon, that's technically considered canon because that's all we have on the characters. We technically don't even know if these characters exist in the Disney Star Wars because it's outside of a couple of characters being talked about. There's really not much about them. Like they were
Okay,
mentioned by name. Uh, I think Revan has been brought up in some of the Disney shows. I think.
okay. No, I was just curious because I know with the books it's touch and go.
Yeah, I know.
So
Like
anyway,
I
yeah,
said, once things start slowing down, I'll get you. I'm gonna make you start reading them, so that way you can
So
pick
in
up a little bit on it.
2017,
But
got it. Oh, I'm sorry, 2027.
2017,
2027.
yeah, we're gonna go back in time.
Actually, we will. We will have the
Uh,
technology and start this podcast in 2017. Imagine we started this in college. No, um, we couldn't. We weren't tech savvy. Anyway, no, but I agree with you on all that stuff. But no, that's interesting. So, okay, so the idea is it was a spacecraft, blew up, destroyed multiple planets.
yep, many planets.
So basically, it was just like meteors hitting planets.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically,
you can
I mean,
look at it
obviously,
that
it
way.
wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
So
Interesting.
also that also answered the question of how old Vernestra Rho is, because they had stated that the planet, the Great Hyperspace Disaster, happened over 100 years ago, which means in the books she was give or take about 18, like maybe a few years younger, maybe a few years older. So 100 years, she is around 120 in the show.
Oh,
So
she only looks middle aged.
hey, I mean, look at Yoda, 1,000 years old, and he's still moving.
Also true. Um, that's interesting. All right. Yeah, I don't know what we're getting in this last episode. To be honest with you,
It's going to be very interesting.
I don't even have a thought. Like I have, I shouldn't say I don't have a thought, but there was nothing that made me go, "This is what's going to happen." Because I don't even know if like Osha and Maya are going to fight again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what's gonna. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. But yeah, I'm very curious of what that next episode, like that last episode, is going to be, because I have a feeling it's going to be a fight between Mai and Soul, and then the season ends with Osha training with Quimir. That's my prediction right now. However, anything could happen.
Your prediction kind of makes sense, honestly.
Just the way it's set up and how much they're focusing on Soul so much, right? And I feel like the next episode we're going to learn about how Mai came to be where she is.
Hmm.
You know, meeting with Quimir and everything else. Obviously, not knowing it's Quimir, um, and having that interaction, and then seeing those two fight.
Yeah.
That's my prediction, but we'll see. Anything else you'd like to add about the Acolyte?
Nope. I'm assuming you want to move on to Superman.
Yeah, this one, um, wow, was interesting. I wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't. It wasn't. I'll say that.
The only thing I can think of is that this show has legitimately not disappointed me in the slightest.
Oh, here's the thing. They did a great job. By all means,
They
like
did a
do not.
phenomenal job.
They yeah, they've. I mean, just basically the plot of this episode is Brainiac gets to Earth and pretty much shows that he's God and you're all gonna bow to him. And then at the end of the episode, basically decides he doesn't think Earth is worthy.
And then obviously
Did-
Lois
No,
is
no, I mean that's what I'm like. I'm saying that's just a brief overview of it. We're gonna go into more detail about the parts we want to talk about
yeah.
because there are major points here that I need to talk about.
Yeah, and
Um,
Lois has been spent the episode trying to break Clark out of Brainiac's control.
yeah, which I thought was very interesting. So apparently, whatever she connected herself to was connected to Clark and Brainiac.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently
and
that device literally traps his consciousness in it, which I know we had talked about what it does before and how it worked. So it legitimately just sucks their consciousness out and stores it in the device, apparently.
yes, which we kind of already knew it did based on him fighting those holograms,
Yeah.
but we didn't see it in action because we assumed that the others were dead
Hmm.
already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we knew it, but we didn't know how fully it worked. I'll say that. Um, but yeah, so we had that. We also got to see Lois Lane be Supergirl, or Superwoman actually,
Yeah.
which she has been in the comics. She's actually had Superman's powers in the past.
Yep.
And watching her beat up Clark's parents, perfect.
Oh, it was great. It was
Um,
such a great setup, especially like this episode was so wholehearted
Yes.
it was she, Lois goes and fights back against his Kryptonian parents, and she's, how did I do this? I don't have powers, and he just turned to her and is like, "You're the strongest woman I know. You
Yeah, to
you're
me,
able
you
to
are the
do
strongest
anything."
person I know. Pretty
And
much, exactly.
like like I said, this show just does such a phenomenal job at hitting at the feels while providing a great story that's action paced as well.
Which also proves that it was Clark's mind they were in, not anywhere else.
Yeah.
They were in a part of Clark's mind,
Yep.
which means he was in charge of it. Which was why they were trying to break him. Which was why he was a scientist, because he was too weak to not be a warrior.
Mhm. Mhm.
Which, by the way, his parents so much gave me Viltrumite energy,
Oh,
like you would not believe.
1000%.
Like I told you that they looked like it before. This gave me 100% Viltrumite energy.
Oh yeah.
There was no. Now, granted, these obviously weren't his parents,
Mhm.
but this
This
is
is
Brainiac's version of
this is
them,
the Brainiac version of Krypton. So,
which is basically
yep.
Viltrumites, the Viltrumite Empire. But yeah, so seeing all that and then seeing her beat him up and everything else, and then the two of them breaking out was incredible. However, so we had all that happening. Spoiler alert: Lois and Clark break out. Um, when we get back to Earth, when sorry, when Jimmy, Lois, and Kara
There you go.
get back to Earth and they're attacked by Task Force X, was the perfect moment for me because they get arrested and then freed by journalism.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And I love that we had Vicky Lane there too, being like, "That ain't happening. We are not allowing this." And then all of a sudden, it's like,
Vicky
"We
Vale.
got him." Vicky, what did I say? Vicky
Vicky.
Lane.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a real person actually.
Oh.
Oh no, it is. It is. She was a reality. She was basically like she was like a better version, like or not a better version. She was like a classier version of Jerry Springer.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna go with Vicky.
Okay.
Um, so she was there, and I was surprised to see her. But it makes sense because of all the news that's happening around Metropolis. I would imagine with all the curfews and everything else.
With all the news, and honestly, I think that especially after Jimmy did the airing of Flamebird, which is why all the journalists went there in the first place. Um, I feel like her connection with Lois, it kind of drew her there as well. Um,
Well, no, what I'm saying is she was in Metropolis already because of all the other stuff that was going on, but she went there. She was at that moment because of her connection to
yes,
Lois. But I mean, if she was in Gotham, she wasn't going to make it there in time. Is the point I'm making?
you don't know how time travel works in this travel of
I hate
time.
you. I hate you so much. But anyway, so I do like that they escaped, and then Jimmy giving her Kara a pep talk, being like, "Clark's been beat down so many times." Oh no, was it? No, it was the other guy.
Steve Lombard.
He's Steve was like, he's been beat up so many times, but he still fights. And so that's when she goes, "I'm gonna do it." And then she starts going ham. But before that, we see Task Force X get manhandled real quick
Oh
by Brainiac. I mean, like he doesn't even move.
no, they just stood absolutely no chance. And I have to say, when Lex Luthor activated the kryptonite androids,
We saw him get weaker.
he
We
we
saw him actually.
yep, it wasn't a lot, but it it was noticeable.
But I think the difference here was he was actually fighting
Yep.
because the last time we saw it, he really wasn't fighting. I know it sounds weird to say, but like he really wasn't fighting at that moment
Hmm.
because Kara was already knocked down at that point, and so when it happened, we didn't see it. In this one, he was technically surrounded by his enemies, and he felt it and was a little concerned for a moment.
Hmm.
And then we find out that there's kryptonite shields,
Yeah. 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 Yep.
which is the thing apparently.
Hey.
Put up the kryptonite shields, and then all of a sudden Lex Luthor's like, "I lost all my ships. My ships went boom." And Amanda Waller's like, "What's going on? Bring them back here now."
All right.
That's exactly how she sounded and looked.
I'm sure she sounded just like Jabba the Hutt.
Yes, yes,
Or
and she looks like it too.
no, not Jabba the
Um,
Hutt, the King of Naboo from the first movie.
Actually, yes, that is 100% fact. That was more accurate than Java. But anyway, um, yeah. So seeing all that happen was great. Seeing Kara not give up was also nice. And then Superman coming in to save the day when Brainiac goes to blast the planet to smithereens. He comes in and smacks the blast away or absorbs it. I'm not 100% sure.
I just I loved when Superman came in for the save for Kara when she was getting attacked by the ship, and just the suit transformation and basically like his upgrade again.
Yes,
That was
but this time it was it's Superman's it's a Superman version of Kryptonian armor.
yeah, yeah.
Is the
Um,
best way to phrase it. And the episode ends with Brainiac basically telling Earth, "You're not worthy. You're gonna get destroyed," and that's the end.
yep. Brainiac managed to like you said take control of Lex's machines, use them against Superman and Supergirl because they are still affected by the kryptonite, and take them out so that way he can wipe out Earth because they resisted his control.
Yep. So next episode, we're gonna see every single character that we've seen ever come in and help.
Yep, definitely. No, they're gonna need it.
We're gonna have Livewire. We're gonna have Heatwave. We're gonna have all of her team plus Task Force X plus Superman plus Supergirl plus Jimmy plus Lois plus the Brain and Monsieur.
I'm interested if uh, Lois's father is going to be in it and what role he's going to play.
He's
Um,
gonna. Here's the thing. Even Amanda Waller is gonna work with Superman to stop Brainiac.
oh yeah, absolutely.
So like that means the General's gonna work with Superman at this moment in time. He's gonna show up as well.
I think no, I think he's gonna. I definitely think he's gonna work with Superman. I'm just curious, like how big of a role he's gonna play. If it like, you
He
know,
might even take over Amanda Waller's spot.
yeah, it's possible. He's had experience with this, whereas Amanda Waller is not.
Correct. But we'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of things can happen in this in the next episode, and I don't even want to make thoughts of it because they've always exceeded it.
Yeah, that can
Like
happen.
I thought this episode was going to be like a filler episode of Lois
Yeah,
just breaking Clark out, and it was that, but it was so much more.
no, no. Like this show's filler episodes is filled with so much stuff.
But like stuff that's needed. Yeah, agreed.
It
But
is
yeah,
incredible. Like I literally don't want to miss an episode every week. It is
yeah. No, I agree with you. I actually watched it late. Technically, I watched it at 9:30 instead of 9, but it was so good. Like it kept my like. There were parts that I was kind of like, this is exactly what I thought, and there were parts of the episode where I was like, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. But like, I will say a majority of it, no idea. Like I did not have any clue,
no,
and I'm happy to say that. Like it's I'm very happy to say that because they did it. Not only did they do it where I wasn't expecting it, but they did it in such a way that it was better than what I thought it was going to happen.
hmm absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we have season finales up the yin yang next week, so I'm looking forward to all the episodes next week. However, this one, I don't know. This one, and I think this one might be slightly lower than the boys. However, if you would have asked me in the beginning of this season, of all these seasons, where I thought the order would have gone, I would have thought it would have been boys, Acolyte, and Superman way at the bottom. But Superman's a close second.
Oh yeah, it's literally like like you said, the
It's
boys, and then
boys,
it's like Superman, and
Superman.
then like acolytes down.
Like Acolyte's not super far down, but comparative to the two of them, it's down.
Oh yeah, and it's incredible because like I said,
Even the Acolytes, all of it's good. Like
no, it's good.
none of these shows were bad in any
And
capacity.
each show is doing their own story. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
like they're not it's not your typical Star Wars show. It's not your typical superhero show. So it's each show is a refreshing thing to watch. Each episode.
Yeah, like Acolyte is a brand new take on Star Wars in general. My Adventures with Superman is a unique take on Superman that's never really been done. Like it's there's been renditions of it that are similar, like taking us all the way back to the beginning of Superman being Superman.
Hmm.
However, this is a fresh take where it's like we don't know what's happening.
Yep, and
And then the
in
boys,
general with Superman, that's just a very difficult thing to do to retell a
because
story.
it's been done so many times.
Yeah, no,
It's been
Superman is such a difficult character to get right, and they are doing a phenomenal job.
agreed, agreed. And then the boys is just a really great take on superhero satire.
Yeah, taking the real world and putting it putting putting not a spin on it, like, just adding to it.
No, agreed. So speaking of, let's get right into the boys.
This episode was such a upgrade from last week, and it was wild.
There were so many things that happened that I wasn't prepared for. Um, A Train. So we're not gonna talk too much about the plot, like in general. We're gonna be talking about like our favorite parts, just because the plot is so convoluted, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It is so convoluted that I don't think Mike and I will do it justice.
Yeah, it's just so much.
Because it was so. This episode was by far the best episode of the week, hands down.
Yeah, no, it was a great episode.
So we have an assassin, supposedly, who apparently can shapeshift, and the way they shapeshift is disgusting.
Yep.
They literally shed their skin.
It's insane.
I was not prepared for that. You know what? I'll say this. I wasn't prepared for that, although I will say this. I knew she was the bad guy when they found her in the closet.
I didn't. I didn't
Oh,
until they, well, like when they found her, I was like, oh, someone's being held captive. And then when
nope.
she ran, I was like, okay, bad person.
No, as soon as I saw her, I was like, all right, she's the bad guy. She's the bad guy. Guys, be careful. She's the bad guy. She's the bad guy. However, I will say this. No way in heck would I have thought she was a chameleon when she started ripping her skin off. I'm like, what is she doing?
Yep. Just
I had no.
the final escape in the hallway where she's literally just ripping her face off and just looking back. Ugh.
Well, like, and then Huey slipping literally on flesh.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that part messed with me just because I was like, I didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I was like, because at first I'm like, oh, she has a healing factor, but I'm like, she's not looking like she's healing. So like, what's going? Well, because she didn't. She wasn't
No.
healing
No,
really,
she wasn't.
because realistically, she was just peeling off the extra skin to make herself um, the new person. So that messed with me. Then the twist at the end messed with me,
Yeah.
and then
That ending was absolutely insane.
well, you know what's funny? I will say this: when the moment she came out in the Starlight suit, I said, "That's not Annie."
I didn't even click in my head. Did
But I will tell you this. I will tell you this though. When I said that, and I will admit I did say it. However, I thought, and I will admit this, I didn't think Annie was captured. So like even though I knew, like I had that thought in my head, like because Annie was wearing the suit and she doesn't want to wear the suit,
Mhm.
so I was like, there's no way so I know that's not her. Right from the get go, I knew it wasn't her. However, I thought that sniper had just snuck in, or the assassin snuck in, just to take Huey's skin
Mhm.
and be and blame Huey for the assassination.
Okay. Yeah.
So that I know I said a lot, and I do apologize because I'm going to be bouncing around a lot because I do apologize. There's a major plot point that people think that the assassin has been here in the show for a long time in this season.
Oh,
Have you heard the rumors of
I
this?
hadn't heard that rumor.
The rumor, and I don't know how true this is,
Mhm.
and I don't, right? Because we don't know. Because I would have never in a million years guessed this in anyway. They think Huey's mom,
Oh.
because she was reading a book about the assassination of a president.
Oh, that's so messed up.
But they think it's not his actual mom. Meaning, like, the person we saw
Yeah.
was not his mother.
Only took her skin to get close to Huey.
Yep.
See, now
And
the
I think
only
her.
thing I say against that is because technically she had the ability to take Huey's skin the entire time they were at the hospital together. So that's the only reason I would say no.
I also think that she was also there to gather intel because she's an assassin. She was there to gather as much information as possible because let's be honest, even it would make the most amount of sense for her to try to use his mother, and hear me out on this, because he's mad at her,
Hmm.
right? So he's not even thinking of all the weird stuff that his mom might be doing that might be different
Yep.
because she hasn't been around in forever, right?
Yep.
And Huey's the weakest one out of all the entire group to get information out of.
Yeah. No, I mean it can work. It can work.
My whole thing is I'm not 100% convinced on that piece for obvious reasons, but I do understand their thought process on it
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
she shot the V into because then she would have shot up the V in the dad to purposely cause damage
Also true.
instead of to heal him.
Hmm. Yeah.
So like it still would have played out the same way regardless. Um
And it
yeah,
would have also earned her trust a little bit more with Huey, which is, to get close to him is what you need.
and also to she would have learned a lot more about him and everyone else so that way she would have been able to be Starlight better.
True.
And again, that by no means is this true. It's something that came up that made me go, "Oh,"
I agree.
because it's not something that's so far fetched that I'm like that. No way in heck. Because she came back out of the blue. It felt like,
Hmm.
and that would make that does you know what I'm saying? Sort of make sense. Um,
And it makes sense. I mean, I can't really say that because a mother would want to see her son if in fact she wanted to be back in their lives. But it made sense that she really wanted to see Huey, but his father was saying no. But her being trying to be insistent to see Huey, if it, in your perspective to say that the assassin to get intel, that would make sense.
correct. And also, it also paints another picture too because when she said she was selling makeup for Vought, it also allows her to have a connection with Vought. So in case she lets something slip about something, or like she knows something a little bit, she worked for Vought. So granted, in a very low level stance, but like it wouldn't be all that far fetched.
Yeah, no, she's got her grounds covered.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously Starlight. So when we saw Starlight chained up, and then we see the whole scene of her being captured, I was like, that's not at all when I like. None of that is what I thought happened
Literally, as
because
soon as
that
I
was
saw it,
perfect.
I was like, we're just gonna end the episode with her being held captive in the basement, not gonna know what happened, and then we saw the flashback. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, the thing that kills me too is then we see like the ripped skin of the woman who took the selfie with her,
Yep.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because then I was like, "Well, when did she switch?"
Hmm.
Because like soon as so I knew for a fact, obviously, that Starlight wasn't Starlight, right? When she was sleeping with Huey. However, when we see her chained up, that's when I go, "When was the switch?" Right?
Yep.
Just like everyone else in America, and then we see the flashback, and I went, "Nope, never in a million years would I ever thought that." But it makes so much sense, and that's what got me.
I so much depth in this episode.
Yeah, so we have so that's just the chameleon. Like we haven't even touched about any of the other
That's
stuff yet.
probably like in a total of like 5 to a maximum 10 minutes of the episode.
Um, I even think he's highballing it to be honest with you.
I'm
Like I
leaning
really
more
think,
closer to the 5 minute mark.
like all joking aside, like I think Mike's being very generous, but like that was a major like point.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't even know where to go next.
Well, we
Do you want to
can.
talk about Web Weaver,
Sure,
or do
we
you want to
can.
go to the?
No, I was gonna say if you want, we can go talk about. We could talk about the small detail of Deep's Deep's octopus lover has been murdered.
Oh, I didn't want to talk about that. Do you know who voices that? You know who voices the octopus?
No.
So it's an MCU character.
Oh.
It's an actor from the MCU.
Who?
She was the ancient one
You're kidding
in
me.
Doctor Strange.
That's
I kid
hilarious.
you not.
That is
I
awesome.
kid you not. I kid you not, because it was killing me. And I'm like, I know that voice, right? And I'm like, I know this voice, I know the voice, I know the voice. And so I forget because it's Amazon Prime. If you pause, it
It
tells
shows
you
you
who.
who they are.
So I pause it and I go, "You've got to be kidding me."
That's
I was
awesome.
like, "That is so great."
uh,
Because, I mean, she's been in Lord of the Rings, she's been in obviously the MCU, and now she's in this, and granted, not anymore. I'm assuming. So I'm assuming the octopus is dead.
yeah, yeah.
The reason why I hesitate to say that she is dead, like fully, I have a feeling there's some way she might still be alive
Uh,
because they can be out of water for a while.
yeah, no, I was a little confused that she was already suffocating, like only immediately, because I'm like, I thought octopus could be out of water for a while, and
I
the
think
fact
she
that
was
she was
doing it to try to
trying
get him
to
to
like
open.
crawl under the door. I mean,
I think,
technically, she wanted him to open the door,
but I also think that
but
she's alive in
yeah,
somewhere else.
it was that was a little weird.
No, I felt like that was she was faking. Now, not to say that she wasn't like actually in worry, because I think she wanted him to think it was the end. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I think she wanted the deep to think it was the end, so he would free her, and then she was more heartbroken than actually suffocating. That's just my opinion. Then, yeah. So we also, uh, Sister Sage has been fired,
Yep,
which I was very surprised about. But I also knew I was right. She did know A Train was the leak.
yep, and she was using it to her advantage, which then Firecracker screwed up.
Yes, and then they killed Webweaver in the most gruesome way ever, and in the most disturbing and disgusting way I could ever see somebody die.
Okay, let's get this straight. Webweaver was scared so badly that he had webs spewing out of him, and then
No, he
Homelander,
did not. He that was straight liquid. That was it was web fluid.
liquid
It was
webs.
yes. Um
but
and
then
Homelander.
Homelander just got so tired of it that he just ripped him clean in half.
In fact, I think that's the fatality that he uses in the game.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's one of them. At first, I was like, "Oh, that's a lame fatality," and now it makes sense.
I was gonna say I literally was agreeing with you because we see some of the fatalities that Homelander does, and I was
Yep.
just like, because we didn't see this episode obviously before that, and so I'm like, oh, that's okay. Like for a Mortal Kombat game, that's not that great. And then it's like, oh no, they foreshadowed.
Yeah.
They foreshadowed hard. Um, yeah, that got me. That got
And
me.
I want to point out
Um,
too that Firecracker was not prepared for Homelander crossing that line. She was in total shock and
I here's
terrified.
my thing. Here's my thing. I think she knew he would kill him, but I think that was such a grotesque way of doing it that that's what shocked her more than anything else. I don't think it was the death itself. I think it was how he did it,
Oh yeah,
personally.
I think it was like I didn't like, which I don't understand how she wouldn't, but it's like she didn't realize how disturbing he could be.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then when Sister Sage gets fired, she tries to give Homelander her milk, and he's like, "Get out."
Yeah, he resisted. he managed to resist.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I Sister Sage quit. Well, gets fired, and then it turns out she was sleeping with Black Noir and
Yeah, and a
the
train
Deep.
and the deep. That
And I
was
think what's even funnier is the fact of like she wants you to scramble her brains beforehand too, and he's like, scramble her brains,
yeah.
what? And that's what made it even funnier because she had to be stupid to deal with the Deep
Yep. That was such a dig at him even more, which is is so good.
because he thought Sister Sage loved him.
Yep.
Oh,
This guy.
and then we have to talk about A Train being the hero of the episode.
Yep. Making the full
So,
switch.
well, the official switch.
Yep.
Man, he convinces MM to come out of retirement
Yeah.
and then helps beat up Black Noir and the Deep, which
Saving the boys.
by the way, watching Annie beat the Deep up was phenomenal.
That was very satisfying.
Yes. I honestly thought she was going to kill him.
I do not know why they didn't.
I think she's still hesitant.
But I mean,
She
even
doesn't want
the
to be
other
like them.
people in the group, like Butcher, didn't try to kill him.
I think Butcher is kind of, how do I want to phrase this? Butcher's not in the right state of mind.
Well, that's for sure.
So I'm giving Butcher the benefit of the doubt here.
I give Butcher credit for actually coming forward and telling them what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. I also think though. So when he faints,
Hmm.
I don't think he's in control of his body anymore.
Oh, absolutely. The tumor takes over at that point. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and yeah, I think the tumor's in charge, and I think Butcher's going to be fighting the tumor,
Hmm. Yeah.
literally, literally, and figuratively.
Oh yeah. I
And
definitely think so.
I think we're going to see that in this next episode where he legitimately fights his tumor. And I know that sounds weird to say, but I don't think I'm wrong. So we have all that. We also have Frenchie being released from prison
Yep. Against his will.
and against his will. We learn about Kimiko and her past,
Yep.
and
Which was
we
kind of
also
messed up.
we kind of knew it was messed up, but it's even more messed up than we thought.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And then she almost dies.
yeah. Which is a shock.
Yeah, Samir made the virus, shot up Kimiko. Frenchie obviously spent the time to save Kimiko instead of going after Samir, which is exactly what Samir wanted, which, to be fair, I get it.
Yep.
Kimiko was able to resist it for a time, and I think that has to do with her healing factor. Um,
I don't know if
because
the
she has
healing factor would really help that because in this case the virus is literally targeting her abilities. So I feel like in this
no,
case it would.
it's attacking the V.
Well, yeah.
So here's my thing on this, right? This is my thought process on this. Okay? It deteriorates and destroys the V in her system, right? But it takes longer to do so in her than it would anybody else because of her healing factor. It will eventually, so she would have eventually died. However, if it was to Annie, Annie would have died.
Oh yeah. 1000%.
So Kimiko was able to resist it longer than most. So
And the
that's why he
benefit
was able
is
to
that
cut off the leg.
even though she got her leg cut off, it's gonna grow back. So
It did grow back.
yeah. Did it? Did we see it grow back?
I am 99 because of how quickly her arm grew back after being cut off. Her leg's already grown back.
Okay, that's true. Forgot about that.
Um, because they already showed that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
they already foreshadowed that in the beginning of the season. So we know it's already grown back. But yeah, so she's got a virus leg. Um, that's now going to be used to make another shot at killing Homelander. Um, and Ryan has defied his father.
That was great.
That's what I wanted. No, let me rephrase that. They gave they gave me something I needed that I didn't know I needed.
They gave you something you needed that you didn't know you wanted.
Yes, thank you.
Um, it was it was so powerful with that little awkward, childish way because
Yes.
he was nervous. He didn't know how to say it, but he said what he
Hmm.
wanted to say, and
Absolutely.
especially with the fact that I mean I don't know if like they made a point to reference home in the episode recap Homelander telling him just do what I want, I have a lot on my plate, stop caring about yourself and care about what I want. And in the in the finale of the episode they made sure to he defied him, he finally stood up to him.
Well, the other thing too was, if we remember correctly, when we first heard him make that message, we didn't hear the whole thing.
No, we did.
Homelander, Homelander, yeah.
Oh, Homelander. Oh, I thought you were
Mike,
talking.
move a little closer. You bent in and then disappeared.
Sorry.
Um. So anyway, so when Homelander, we see Homelander make the call,
Yep.
but we don't hear him say everything.
No, I think we did.
We thought we did. No, we thought we did. No, there was more. There was more in the voicemail than what he said.
What? What?
Because what? So when he said it, he calls up and says, "Hey, I heard there was a problem over there." He says, "I'm really busy right now. Is there any way? Is there any
Just
way?"
do what you're told and just listen to me and do what you're told.
Yeah, but I don't think he said. I don't remember him saying that on the phone.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I missed it then, because I only remember. I remember hearing it in the voicemail and being like, "Oh, he said more than I thought."
No, he said that exact thing and when we heard him saying it on the phone.
I thought there was an extra sentence in there that we didn't hear.
No, not that I remember. I believe
Uh,
it was the
anyway,
exact same thing.
so the moral of the story is he defied his father.
Yep.
We can 100% agree on that part, which was awesome. And Butcher basically told his tumor, "Heh, I was right, you were wrong," and then the tumor took over. So, yeah, that was. Oh, and then Ashley doesn't know what she wants to do, but Ashley's being a good person in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah. It's
I fired. Wait, where's your assistant? I fired them. Okay, I fired them because I didn't want them to die because they're such a good person,
yeah.
and like that hit me in the feels.
It was like she was trying to be caring in her in the only way she knew how, which for such a horrible person is somewhat meaningful.
Yeah, and she's afraid to leave.
Yep. Well, I mean, she literally can't defend herself. So,
Also true. And then she tells A Train to remove the chip in his head.
yep,
Um, and the other key piece here too is A Train gets his family away too,
yep.
which I'm happy about
And speaking of
because
family, oh, no, go ahead.
no, say it. No. I was just happy that he did it because it's like he's protecting. He's a hero and he's protecting his own family.
Yeah. No, what I was gonna say was, speaking of family, MM chose the boys over his family.
So this is where I argue on that one.
So, okay, so he's protecting them. He wants to make sure that they're safe. But they want him to retire from the boys because they know
Yes.
that he most likely will not make it.
Yes.
And he passes on it because he wants to protect them, and the only way he can protect them is to make sure that Homelander is dead.
I mean, the whole thing is, and I think this makes the most amount of sense, is that if they succeed in America, they're taking over the whole world.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if he doesn't stop it now, he'll never be able to stop it, and his family will be in
Which
trouble.
is what A Train told him. So
No, agreed, agreed. But what I'm getting at is like that's really what sent him over the edge. So
it clicked in his head. Yeah.
yeah, I think I knew he was not going to go.
Oh yeah.
Nothing against MM, but we all knew he was going to do exactly what his dad and granddad did. Um, However, he legitimately can't leave.
No.
Like it's either he dies and his family lives, or he dies with his family.
Yep.
And he'd rather have his family live without him than die with him.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal episode, phenomenal episode. And one more
I
time for the
can't
kids,
wait to see what they
phenomenal
do
episode.
for all three of these shows. Like
It's going
each
to be a
one
full out war.
is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like legitimately, there's going to be an assassination attempt on the president,
Yep.
and
Oh, we didn't talk about Huey going to talk to Newman and try to get to
oh yes,
talk to her human side, I guess.
yeah. So they had a nice heart to heart moment, which I did like. I did like, um, and he tried to like basically be like, and what was clear, and I believe this was very clear, that she had no idea about the internment camps,
Yeah, yeah.
but she's too far in that she can't stop it.
No, there's nothing she can do to stop Homelander right now.
Correct, and I think like how do I want to phrase this? Like all that stuff in thought process, right? Like she knows what she's doing is wrong, but she has no choice,
Hmm.
and she can't stop it in her mind, which I believe.
Yeah, I think right now the she has to play along until something can go in her favor.
Agreed. 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 Um, but yeah,
I'm
I don't
looking
know.
forward.
I mean, I'm looking forward to next week in general because this is the end of a great string of movies. I mean, of shows.
Yeah.
Um, and we have a little bit of break of shows anyway, right?
No.
What starts up right away? Oh no, it's the 10 episode. It's the full season of Cape Crusader though.
No. Kite Man.
Oh shoot! I gotta watch Harley Quinn. Shoot! I completely forgot about Harley Quinn. I gotta watch that. Anyway, anything else about the boys? I mean, realistically, I think we covered everything, and like even some conspiracy theories.
Yeah, no, no. Let's hop onto your character spotlight. Let's wrap this up. It's getting long enough, and I want to go to bed.
Not allowed. Okay, so my character spotlight is none other than Ruth Bates Saraf. And FYI, if I pronounced her name wrong, which I most likely did, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
She's from Earth 616. Her code name is Sabra, Sabra. I believe that's how you pronounce it, is Sabra. So
R
she was
A or R E?
RA.
Okay, maybe Sabra.
I'm thinking like the never mind. There's a company named Sabra, so I and that's how they pronounce it. So I'm assuming it's the same.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, anyway, Sabra was born near Jerusalem, Israel, and was raised on a special kibbutz run by the Israel government along with her family after her mutant power manifested. Ruth was the first superhuman agent created to serve the Mossad, the Israel Secret Service. She was also policewoman in the Israel Police Forces of Tel Aviv as a cover. It was presumably at this time she saved a near to death junkie found in the alley, granting her powers at the same time. She saved her by transferring her life energy into the junkie. We'll talk about her powers later.
Okay.
Her first public act as Sabra was to battle the Incredible Hulk. Yes, you heard that correctly. Whom she mistakenly believed was working with the Arab terrorist operating in Israel. As Hulk left with the body of a young Arab killed by the terrorist, Sabra chased him. At the end of their encounter, she was devastated by Hulk's speech about the Israel Palestinian conflict and the death of Saeed. I find this very weird that she had a conversation with the Hulk. But also, so you know, this is the 80s, and the 80s Hulk was different.
Hulk has gone through many changes.
Yeah, I think in the 80s Hulk talked more. Like Hulk could like have conversations, and wasn't dumb. I think in that point, and it wasn't like a different version of the Hulk. You know what I'm saying? You know how like with Bruce Banner, he had like the different like later on we found out that it's different personalities showed different versions of the Hulk.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Each version of the Hulk, Gray Hulk, Monstro,
Oh yeah, it was like it was a different. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that didn't exist yet.
yeah. Okay,
So it
okay.
was just, yeah, yeah.
I
So
just
anyway,
didn't understand how you when you said the way you said it. I just didn't understand what you meant.
sorry. So she was part of the contest of champions between Death and the Grandmaster on Iron Man and the Arabian Nights team. Although rivalry between their respective countries made this alliance very difficult, Sabra was brought on the site of a hostage taking where the Israelis uh, the Israelists for Anarchy and Windstorm were besieged in a kibbutz with their deaf son of an American ambassador. Oh my gosh.
Are you
I am
sure
going to
you want to talk about this character? Because you seem
it's
to
too
be
late at this point.
struggling.
You know what? I'm just going to keep going. She ended up depowering and leaving an agonizing windstorm and saved the boy. She battled the Hulk another time a few months later, and he and Ulysses targeted Max Mir, a boy susceptible of becoming the next Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
Yep, you heard that right. Some years later, Sabir's young son was killed in a terrorist attack. She disobeyed orders in order to bring her son's killer to justice. She was a supporter of the mutant cause because obviously she's a mutant herself. She joined the One Policing Force during the Civil War against unruly mutants. And she was obviously part of Iron Man's pro-registration side in the Civil War, which I find interesting because she's pro-mutant and pro-mutant cause. However, she was on Iron Man's side in the Civil War. But it makes sense with her character because in her mind, mutants should have rights. However, they shouldn't use their powers without like the government needs to know about people's powers so they can then deal with them if they go rogue.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just you can't trust the government.
True, but she's always only worked with the government, so she only trusts it.
Okay.
And obviously, in return for her participation, Mossad got information and technology from the United States for the creation of their own registration act. Surprising. She was part of an anti-terrorism group where she had to fight the Arabian Nights. During the Skrull invasion, she was attacked in Israel by at least two Super Skrulls. And then during the ends of the world, when Doctor Octopus suspiciously offered to the world's leaders to revert the greenhouse effects by using a giant web of satellites, Spider-Man distrusted him and started a crusade to destroy Octopus's satellite factories and missile launcher facilities, along with Black Widow and Silver Sable. He asked help from other heroes around the world, such as Sable, to destroy the plants nearest them. When Sable was about to ride one missile to stop it, Crossbones shot her, but it was only glancing hit. So what I mean by that is obviously he shot her, but it wasn't a fatal wound.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a lot of history in the comics. So she was a character that was introduced in the 1980, right? And she's been around for a while, however, not being a main character for obvious reasons. But one of the big things has to do with the fact of how they portrayed her in the comics with her costume was insulting to the Israel nation. She wore her flag as a costume, which is a no-no in their country.
It's a lot of people's countries.
Yes, except for America.
No, actually, in the U.S., it's illegal as well. People just don't listen.
All right, let me rephrase it this way. We as Americans would love somebody to do so. In other countries, no.
Oh yeah, it's very disrespectful.
No, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, yes, it's illegal, but like we as Americans would be like, yay! Where in other countries they'd be like, no.
Yeah. Eh,
Like even in Germany, you can't you're like you can't like you can't raise your flag and like and I could be wrong on this like the full details, but there's something to do with they can't have like they can't overly express pride in their country um with like
Last time they had such a great national pride, they kind of murdered half the world. So
no, but you understand what I'm saying. But like, there's some countries that don't even allow like
yeah.
expressions of it, let alone wear their flag.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so let's get talking about Sabra's powers because I know you're very interested in this, Mike. Mostly because realistically she doesn't demonstrate her powers a lot, which I find very interesting. So she is a superhuman. She has superhuman strength, class 50, which means she possesses strength sufficient enough to lift about 50 tons with supreme effort, which is why she's been able to go toe to toe against the Hulk at certain times.
Hmm.
She's superhuman speed. She can run and move at speeds surpassing those of the fastest and finest human athletes. And at her peak, she can run at top speeds of 60 miles per hour.
That's a fast
She has
woman.
superhuman. She has superhuman stamina. She can physically exert herself at peak capacity for about 24 hours before she collapses. She has superhuman agility. She has superhuman reflexes. She has superhuman durability. The tissues in her body are much harder and more resistant to physical injury than bodily tissues of a normal human. She will withstand great impact forces, high caliber bullets, falls from great heights, and exposures to temperatures and pressure extremes, and a powerful energy blast without being injured. She is regenerative. Despite her high resistance, it is possible to cause her physical injury. If she is injured, she can rapidly heal damaged tissue about 3 times faster and more extensively than an ordinary human. However, she cannot generate missing limbs or organs. One other thing, she has a life force transferal ability. She has the ability to change other individuals by transferring to them her own life force, healing them in the process. She has twice used this ability in saving dying individuals and granting them low-level superpowers which are apparently at random and otherwise unrelated to her own mutant powers, such as wind generating powers gifted to the woman who she took the costume identity Windstorm, and the recipient restrains their new powers until Ciabra herself decides to withdraw them by receiving her life force back from them, which is why she was able to make Windstorm powerless because she was able to take her life force back from her and then again lost her power.
Hmm.
She has a flight cape, which apparently Ciabra's cape houses certain anti gravity devices, enabling her to fly through the air at speeds greater than 300 miles per hour. She is a formidable and experienced combatant, having been trained in Krav Maga in both armed and unarmed combat by the Israel military, as well as police investigation techniques and intelligence gathering. Her paraphernalia, she utilizes wrist gauntlets and that fire plasma bursts and a cape that fires paralyzing quills. Her costume has been known to change frequently depending upon her mission and as technology improves. She possesses standard weapons in combat um, given to them. Sorry, given to her by the members of the Israel military. So, as always, Marvel has a power grid out of 7. She has an intelligence of a 2 because her intelligence is normal. Her strength is a 5 because it's superhuman, and she can lift about 50 tons. She has a speed of 3 because it's superhuman, durability of a 5 because it's bulletproof. She's energy projection is a 3 because it has short range, and her fighting skill is a 4 because she's skilled. She's an experienced fighter overall.
Nice.
Hold on one second. My computer froze for a second. There is one more thing I wanted to talk about. Um, okay. Another reason why this character has been having an issue is because Ruth was formerly known as Sabra, who served as a Mossad agent. Some who are pro-Israel have an issue with changing characters' alliance to a U.S. agency, while those who are anti-Israel are protesting the character due to her roots, and in some cases simply because she's just from Israel.
Yeah. I mean that last part makes sense.
Yeah, America's awful.
Yep.
So next week we're going to be talking about the season finale of
Everything.
um, The Acolyte, My Adventures with Superman, and The Boys, and pretty much any trailer that pops up next
And the
week. And
premiere
then
of Kite Man.
Kite Man is next week?
It is the 18th.
Oh, no. Okay. So I'm going to have to watch Harley Quinn really quick. So wish me luck on that, everyone. And we're going to and we're going to talk about the season premiere, I'm sorry, series premiere of Kite Man. Hell yeah.
And then, like you
So,
said,
and
whatever
we'll also
trailers we
be,
have, hopefully there's none.
yep, and we'll be watching, and we'll be listening to Mike's Character Spotlight.
I'm
And
sorry in advance.
and by next week we'll have episode 3 and 4 of Black Eel versus in our Poke Rogue challenge as well. However, we won't be really talking about that. That is for those gamers who like watching us game. For now, everyone, this is going to be Scott and Mike. Oh, I'm sorry. If you've made it this far, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out of the Black Eel podcast. Have a great night. Bye bye.